Picture the scenario. A strain of bird flu starts in Asia, mutates into a form that threatens humans, and spreads across the world, killing millions. Does that sound like a Hollywood movie? Well, our own Secretary for Health and Human Services has warned that this threat could be deadly. Is this an overreaction, and how worried should you and your family be? Joining us is Dr. Mark Siegel, the author of False Alarm, and Dr. Mitch Gaynor, the author of Nurture, Nature, Nurture, Health. Dr. Gaynor, let's start with you. In fact, I want to get both of your view. How serious is this?
I think it's serious. The CDC estimates, actually, that if this pandemic were to hit the United States, that 15 to 35% of the population would be affected, and there could be anywhere from 90,000 to 200,000 deaths. You compare that with the 1918 pandemic, which was also an avian flu that allowed and mutated so there could be human-human transmission. There were 500,000 deaths in the United States and 50 million worldwide, so the possibility is there.
How about you, Dr. Siegel? I mean, I keep reading these stories. In fact, I think there's a report in the federal government that says up to 2 million people could die and 10 million hospitalized. I mean, I read this and I'm wondering, is this hype? Is this post-Katrina overreaction? I called my family doctor today. I said, Dr. Ports, you know, how serious is it? He says, I got to see more information on this. What do you think?
Well, John, let me tell you, in the wake of Katrina, I think we're waiting for the next disaster to occur, and that's part of the problem. Now, the avian flu is a problem because about 2 or 3 times per century, a major pandemic actually does occur. We don't have any way of knowing if it's going to be with this bug because this bug has not mutated yet. You know, we see 60 reported deaths of humans, but that's because of millions of birds being affected. We have to control this in the bird population. Right now, there's no sense that anything is in the offing when it comes to humans. Yes, we have to upgrade our ways of making vaccines. Yes, we have to prepare a better disaster management plan. But there's no sense that this is about to happen to us. And so we're sending the wrong signal to the public if we give them the sense that something is in the offing here.
All right. Now, Dr. Siegel, you say not much chance. Dr. Gaynor says this could be deadly serious. I mean, you know, what are we supposed to do? We're not doctors. So how do we prepare for this?
Well, it's not that I think there's not much chance. I think we don't know what chance there is. A lot of bad things can happen in this world. The key here is that no mutation has occurred. What this is putting a spotlight...
In other words, when you say no mutation, in other words, there's nothing that appears as though it's going from human to human. Is that...
Exactly, John. Right now, that is not occurring. You know, there's about 5 mutations that actually have to occur to this particular avian bug before it could go human to human on a regular basis. But what this is putting a spotlight on is a good thing, which is that we need more disaster management. If not this bird flu, it will eventually be another bird flu, because about 3 times per century, a bird flu will mutate into a form that affects human to human.
All right. Now, Dr. Gaynor, do we know what kind of shot we could get to stop us from being infected by this?
Well, that's a good question, and we don't know exactly because we don't know exactly how it's going to mutate. And the fact of the matter is we know the code of the 1918 avian flu that allowed for human-to-human transmission. 5 of the 10 mutations have already occurred in the current avian flu that allowed that to happen. We don't know when the other 5 are going to happen or even if they will happen, but the fact of the matter is there has been some evidence in Vietnam that there was a human-to-human transmission, so it's something that we absolutely need to work on, better vaccine production, and the most important thing is international cooperation so we can isolate cases immediately. I think international cooperation is probably going to be the most important thing in stopping this.
Dr. Siegel, you know, they say with vaccines, you know, we've driven the pharmaceutical firms out of this business. One, they don't make any money, and secondly, they get sued. How serious is that problem?
That problem is huge, John. In fact, vaccine makers don't like making vaccines for that reason. That's why we only have 2 or 3 in the country that actually make flu vaccine every year. The government clearly has to step up their involvement, as they've started to do, in vaccine manufacture. We need to go to genetic engineering so that we can get vaccines made in a hurry. The ability that we have scientifically to track a bug like this is why I don't want to see the 1918 scenario constantly brought up, because there's a very good chance that we could avoid something like that.
Dr. Siegel, do do I have to worry about my family?
Not right now, you don't, John. You have to worry about you not getting hit crossing the street, much more than this.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Doctors, thank you. We're probably going to have you back. Thank you very much.